Hi, I'm Wayne the Boat Guy, and in this video I'm going to talk about getting your boat ready for winter, or just long-term storage if you don't have winter where you live. So there's quite a few things you actually need to do to get your boat ready for winter, and some people don't realize that, besides winterizing your motor and building a tarp frame. If you're looking about how to winterize your engine, I do have a video about that right here. If you're looking for how to winterize your two-stroke engine, I have a video about that as well. And lastly, if you're looking for how to build a tarp frame like the one I have on my boat right here, I have a video about that too. But we're not going to talk about those things in this video. We're going to talk about the other small things that need to be done to properly store your boat for the winter if you're not going to be boating for a while. As you can see behind me, I've got a couple of boats sitting here on their trailers and they are covered. And that's one of the most important things that you can be doing, is just covering your boat. Because keeping the leaves and the snow and the rain and other things out of the inside of your boat really helps make it a lot easier to get ready in the springtime, and also just makes your boat last longer. That way there's not stuff sitting there turning into mulch and rotting things and you know, making nests for animals and any of that kind of stuff. And as you can see with these two boats here, one of them has an actual like a fitted cover that's designed for the boat, and my boat is actually covered with just a great big tarp. I wanted to try that out this year, and so far that's been working great. I made it tall enough where the snow and the rain run off of it. It hasn't been pooling water, and it's been keeping the inside of my boat dry. And I can still get in to do some work. But we're here to talk about some simple things that you should be doing to get your boat ready for the winter. And I'm going to cover those right now. If there's going to be cold weather where you are, where it gets below freezing, you're going to definitely want to make sure you take the drain plug out of your boat, so that way any water that gets in drains out. The drain plug is the very first thing you should be pulling from your boat when you're going to be storing it over the winter. After you pull the drain plug, you'll want to make sure that the bow of your boat is as high as it can be to make sure any water drains out of your boat. I actually have to have blocks underneath of mine to be able to jack it up high enough, because without these blocks, it does not raise the bow of my boat up high enough to be able to let all the water drain through. So that water drains out the back where the drain plug is. And as we're walking to the back of the boat, by the way, please be sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified when I have new videos coming out. Because I make new videos all the time, and I'd love to hear your ideas for some videos that I can make for new boaters to help them on the water. So gas. This is very important to take care of over the winter, especially if you live in an area like I do where we have ethanol in our fuel systems. Ethanol at our gas pumps. I cannot get gas in our area without ethanol in it. And my boat has a 60-gallon fuel tank. So I try to run it low, but I also use fuel stabilizer in there, and I use the Marine 360 fuel stabilizer, and I use some extra of that in the wintertime to try to keep this from separating and having problems. Luckily, our winter really is only about 4 or 5 months. And in the past, I've had good luck with that with my old boat. And fingers crossed, I'll have good luck this year with it as well. I'll be changing out my fuel filter, which has a separator built into it, once I start up the boat this spring. And I'll probably keep a spare one of those on board too, just in case I do have some problems with fuel separation. Because I just cranked on the handle a little bit more, you can see a little bit more water actually draining out where my drain plug normally is in my boat. Obviously, when spring comes, one of the first things you'll want to do is put that drain plug back in. I actually store my drain plug at my helm, so that way whenever I go to put the key in the ignition the first time, I see the drain plug sitting right there. This isn't something that you must do, but if you're parking your boat in a muddy, mucky, grassy yard, putting boards underneath the tires helps keep those tires from sinking all the way down in the mud and makes it a lot easier to pull your boat out in the springtime. I also imagine having your tires sitting soaked in mud all the time probably isn't the best thing for them either, especially when it goes to freeze. Whether you have an inboard, outboard, or an outboard engine, there are a few things that you should do at this end of your boat every winter. First of all, when you're storing your boat for the winter, you should make sure that your outdrive is in the down position. That way any water that is in here is draining out. So by having it vertical, the water can drain out of anywhere where the water normally comes in. Also, many people remove their props in the wintertime. By removing your props, that avoids them getting rusty or messed up in any way. It gives you a chance to actually have the props reconditioned if you need to. But after you remove the props, what I do is I cover the prop shaft in grease and then also put plastic over top of it to keep my prop shaft from, once again, getting any dirt or contaminants or anything like that inside of there, or water coming in. Another very important thing to do at this time of year is to change the oil in your outdrive or the lower unit of your outboard engine. The reason for that is sometimes water actually comes in through the seals around where your prop shaft is and in some other areas. If there's water in that oil, and over winter the water and the oil separate, that water can freeze and it can actually crack and damage your lower unit. So you want to make sure that you've changed that oil, or that you know that that lower unit does not have any water coming into it in any way. Another very important thing to do is make sure that your battery is switched all the way off. Some people take their batteries out and store them for the winter time, but at the very least, making sure your batteries are off means that there is nothing draining your batteries down in the off season. Another important thing to do is make sure that you've removed any food from your boat. If there's anything edible anywhere in your boat, or any drinks, those are things that can attract rodents and pests. If you have a problem with rodents or pests getting onto your boat in the wintertime, one of the things that works very, very well is mint oil. I know people have tried things like mothballs, dryer sheets, and I've heard of all of those things failing. I've heard very good things about using mint oil, and some people put them in small little diffusers or just sprinkle it around or soak paper towels in mint oil. Like any other method, you have to replenish it periodically because the oils will evaporate and dry out. But the more minty the inside of your boat smells, the more you're going to repel things like mice or whatever. Mint oil works very, very good. So keep that in mind if you have a problem with mice or other types of rodents getting onto your boat in the wintertime. But the number one thing you can do is obviously removing any sources of food. Helps greatly. Some other people do have problems with them pulling out the cushions from their seats and eating some wires. And so far I haven't had any of those issues with my old boat, and knock wood, I won't have any of those issues with this boat either. Then the next thing to do is make sure your boat is properly covered. And I built this tarp rig for mine to be able to allow the snow to run off of it. And also because my covers, my summer covers that I have, are not in good shape, so water is actually going through those. I'll be replacing those this year. But this way I'm keeping the elements off of my boat, and I also have easy access to come back on while I'm doing work on my boat over the winter, because I have a lot of projects that I am doing with this boat over this winter. Some people actually get their boat shrink wrapped for the winter, which I think is a really nice idea. And there is actually an option where you can get a zipper door put in a shrink wrap. So that way, if you still want to have access to your boat to do any winter projects or maintenance, after your boat is shrink wrapped, you can still climb aboard and take care of things even though the boat is shrink wrapped, which I think that's pretty cool. Something I may try in the future. One last thing I forgot to mention is making a list. And I know that might sound simple, but what I try to do is I try to make a list as I'm going through and getting my boat ready for winter of things that need to be done before the springtime. Because sometimes while you're getting things ready, that's when you notice them and you go, oh, I'll remember to do this. And often we don't. And then here it is in the springtime and we're trying to find zincs for our outdrive. My list was very long this winter. Besides having to build the tarp frame and some of those other kinds of things, I had a failing steering actuator. I had a very rusty fuel filter. I had a very dirty bilge. As a matter of fact, it was dirty underneath of my fuel tank and all as well, which was not allowing water to flow through. My zincs, or I don't know if they're magnesium, zinc, or aluminum, on my outdrive need to be replaced. My outdrive oil needed to be done. My props needed to be serviced. So I had a long list of things that I wanted to do to my boat before springtime. And then there were even some small cosmetic things like changing out some of my cup holders, and I wanted to put a new door over top of my shower that's on my swim platform. I don't know what that's for. I guess it's for rinsing off the swim platform. But I want to put a new door on there. And so some of those kinds of things I write down for people who are looking for gift ideas for me. So I can give them very specific gift ideas that I'm looking for. And other things I just write down so that way throughout the winter I can do the shopping, acquire those things, and on a nice day like today, I can take care of some of those kinds of small projects. And that way when springtime comes, I'm basically ready to take my boat out right away, which that's what everybody wants to do as soon as the weather gets really nice. So by knocking a lot of this stuff out on nice days during the winter, just makes my spring that much better. So I hope you found this video informative, educational, decent to watch. Please be sure to put some comments down below, and thanks again for watching. Here's another video selected just for you, and a playlist of other videos for new boaters. Stay safe out there on the water.